that company, the company went out of business before we got the game done, which is common. We start a company, go under and get anywhere. Then I went to work for 3DO and did all the Stardust Heroes. Less pixel art, more 3D art, and I got really good at reducing. My specialty was to reduce figures down to as few polys as possible that still look like figures. So I would go in and just really pixel by vertex go down and take down a polygonal model, which I thought was like another challenge, like trying to fit, when I'm trying to fit 256 characters into a whole world. In order to use that to make a big world, I was using the fewer polygons as possible to make as much stuff as I could, because there were still limits. They were just bigger limits. And each time they come up with a new game machine for the artists at any rate, they say, oh, this is going to be so much better for you because guys can even do anything you want. And they go, oh, except you can't do that. So it goes bigger and bigger and bigger, but we're still dealing with limits. And I think the final limit is actual reality. And we don't have to make that here. So let me check my notes. Okay, so after the video, I did enough Stardust Heroes that I never wanted to do it again ever. It's all about little army men. It was based on the first game that they did on little plastic army men. So we would make, I don't have any good screenshots of it, but they're all over the internet. Like they would fight on a pool table and then little army men would be this big, and the pool ball would be this big, or they would fight inside the refrigerator and then, it's just doing all this kind of, it's sort of like Toy Story. It was a takeoff on Toy Story, right around the same time that that movie came out. After that, that was all in California. Then I moved to New York. I met Toby. And I started to work for Vicarious Visions. And they actually hired me on to do Tony Hawk GDA, which was 2.5D. So here is an illusion that is kind of twisted because you only see small parts at the beginning of time. It isn't as obvious, but this is isometric. You probably know that, an isometric perspective. In other words, it isn't true perspective. The parallel lines do not converge. They can't because everything is on a pixel grid. Pixels are only horizontal and vertical, and they cannot converge. And I believe this was not yet quite into anti-aliasing. I can't quite remember if we had alpha channels yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure we did.
So another thing you have to deal with the old pixel art was the fact that there are hard edges on everything. It's all aliased. Aliasing just meaning that solid pixels, no halftones. When you look at text, when you look at any digital work now, you can see that the edges are soft and text is smooth, and if you take the smoothness off, you get really jagged text. So that you had to use an alpha channel to do that, so you had to have yet another layer of data. So each channel, this is probably too technical and I only partly understand it. In most, technical is that? In a regular 8-bit image, you only have one 8-bit instead of 8 bits, right? That's all you get. Then on a 16-bit image, you get 2 of those, 2 levels of bits. On a 24-bit image, you get 3 levels of bits, and those are all the colors, and you have millions of colors. Then you have 32-bit or true color, full color, then you get an alpha channel, which is a mask, which allows you to take out the background and leave semi-transparent pixels around the edges, so things no longer look cut out. They're actually smooth and can move across other things with a little bit of softness around the edges. So it was another illusion, another trick of an illusion, and one of the principles of being a realistic artist is edge control. If your edges are too sharp, your objects flatten out, or if you have outlines around things, they just flatten out. You have to have edges that curve, visually curve, even though they don't actually physically curve. So we were doing with the pseudo 3D, the 2.5D, is the programmers could move the characters in the Z space, but the art was all in X and Y. So we would have to make it so that certain characters could cross in front of certain characters, and they could follow certain 3D paths maps, but it's still 2D art moving in a 3D, in a sort of a 3D space. It was really innovative. It was a huge hit for the guy that did the programming. He's doing all kinds of really cool stuff now. So, but we had to again. It was still in little. It was like characters. It was like tiles, except now they were boxes of tiles. And we would model something, render it, and then I would always like paint. I was paint over it because I could do that much better. So it was like having a lot of little canvases all over the place that you could just color with. So that was Tony Hawk. And then after that was Brother Bear, which I love. Brother Bear was so cool. Just being able to make the parallaxing layers, that was another element in these. So it's kind of like, this is still old school art, but more modern because the old technology got smaller and smaller. So you could have little handheld games. Now you have the mobile games, which are practically nothing. That used to take a whole big box for. And again, it was, you had only so much space. You had to make tiles. You had to cleverly place unique tiles in places that would break up the repetition. And you can see, it's pretty easy to see where the repetition starts to, like that tree looks like that tree. So it's repeating that. And in here, there's two little things here, little drips of ice here, and one big one and a little drip, and then two big ones and a little drip. Well, that's only two pieces of art that I could just swap out in various ways across the level to make it look like it was randomized and natural. And the same with the trees. There'd be several pieces of tree, and you would mix them. You'd have to hand mix it up, because the computer couldn't lay them out in a randomized way, visually randomized. You could look at it to see if it looked too patterned. You'd have to go back in and change it. And then, so that the foreground is just like in actual, when you're creating a painting, the foreground is in strong contrast with saturated colors, and the middle ground is less strong and has less detail and is paler, and then the background may be nothing more than two colors, like a gray mountain against a blue sky. And you make those layers move at different rates as the character's running along, and it looks like there's depth. So a lot of it it's all illusion. Depth perception is more than just binocular vision, because obviously on the screen you don't have binocular vision. So I made a note of this because this is really, really important, and something I still teach every day to people learning to draw and trying to make good art, is that you have to see depth and understand the illusion. The Renaissance guys came up with it, the perspective stuff. Before that, everything was flat. And then somebody figured out, hey, it looks like it gets smaller. What if I drew it like that? Oh my God, it looks like it has depth now. So you have, where's my note? Perspective, which you know is parallel lines converge on the distance. Foreshortening, which is things get bigger or smaller, objects will shrink or get bigger. Scale, which is the relative scale of things. If you have a person standing next to an object like this, you obviously you're going to know that it's a big object. Like we know because we know what size it is. But there's a whole other thing I could go off on about figurative art. It's all figurative art because everything that we do is stories about people or people like things. And so you know that is a big tree because you know the size of the bear. The bear is about human size. So by scale, you've set the overall scale of your scene, and the large objects are closer to you, and the same object will be much smaller in the distance, so you have that scale. And you also have the relative height to the characters in the game. So that leads to depth. Overlap is a huge part of creating depth. Acuity, which is like the focus. Everything close up is going to be in focus and things go far away. You guys know about nitpicking, right? That was something we used to have to do by hand too, before they produced algorithms that could do it. We had to take them down, we had to produce in 128 by 128, 64 by 64, 32 by 32, the same thing all the way down. And it was just how much can you take out and still keep the illusion? And the mind will fill in a lot of the gaps, and that's a lot of what fully visual illusion is, whether you're doing it in painting or in pixels. It's giving them just enough information that they fill it in the continuous line. So even if you don't spell it out completely, I like to use it as a little bit of a kind of a weird analogy that I like to use with that idea of less is more. And don't over render it or over realism of the new games. I don't like it, it's too real. I don't need that much information. I want to have some room to put in my own information. So it's like pornography or erotica. No, so erotica, it's going to be a lot. We will often have a photograph of a woman that's, you know, scantily dressed in just the right ways. It's going to be a lot more interesting than having it all hang out, right? I don't want all that information. It's not interesting anymore. I want the mystery of it. So a little bit of mystery and a little bit of letting the world, you know, letting your eye fill in, let the people fill in for themselves what they want to see, is a big part of creating believable art. And then the believable art leads to suspension of disbelief, which leads to total immersion in the experience. Whew. I think that's about it. Then I switched out of games and started doing teaching because I really feel that these skills that I learned painting were critical to my being able to develop art that was good. Now people go into, it's like they take out all the bottom levels. As a journeyman, you would learn, if you were in the animation industry, you would start out in the mailroom or something, and then maybe you would get to do in-betweening. You would spend a lot of time doing in-betweening, and you would get better and better because by practice, because you have to practice, because drawing is a skill, just like any kind of athletics or music or anything. It takes time to build up the ability to do it. Then you could maybe get to be a keyframer on minor scenes, and then maybe you get to be a keyframer on major student scenes, and then maybe you get to be a character designer. That takes like 20 years. That's a long time to build up that level of skill. And they all started from the bare bottom. But now they cut a lot of that out. Flash does your in-betweening, 3D Studio does your in-betweening. You don't need to have an in-betweener anymore. So the ability to train as an in-betweener is now lost. It's not, and we don't substitute that with anything. And they're thinking they try to train people academically to leapfrog over the original skills that you would have to learn step by step on the job, you know, as a process. And I think it isn't as successful. And a lot of people get disappointed and they can't do what they want to do because they're not trained up in the top. Another analogy I like to use is I can make a cake from a box. You know, and I can give a student a tutorial from Photoshop, and they can do the steps in the tutorial, and they get the results that they expect, but they can't apply that to anything else because they don't know what the steps mean or why they did that. It's like you make a cake from a recipe. Cake from a box is even easier than cake from a recipe. You follow it exactly, it'll turn out. But you can't make the changes that to make it something unique because you don't know what things do. So it's really important to me that people that I'm training know why things do what they do. You know, like why lines converge in the distance. That's why you see perspective. You understand that, and you can take that, and then you can be creative because now you've got the language, and it really is learn the rules before you break them. Because if you're just doing it because you don't know any better, you can't be fully creative with that. And so, anyway, that's really all I've got to say about this art.